Okay, good morning. This is the State and Local Government Committee. We are meeting today for a public hearing and to discuss a couple of other items on our agenda. We now have a quorum, and I will go around and ask folks to.
Okay, good morning.
This is the State. Oh, okay. So good morning. Welcome to the State Joint Standing Committee on State and Local Government. The committee is assembled electronically today for the purposes of inviting people to comment on legislation. Before we get started, I wanted to share some information related to the fact that this meeting is being conducted using electronic format. So before that, I will introduce all of our committee members. I am Ann Matlack. I am the House co-chair of this committee. Senator Rosen, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Kimberly Rosen, Senate District 8. I live in Bucksport, and my district goes from Castine up to Lincoln, including the city of Brewer.
Thank you. Representative Bryant, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome all. I am Mark Bryant from Windham. I represent House District 24, part of the town of Windham.
Thank you. Representative Downs.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome, everybody. My name is Kathy Downs. I represent District 130, which is Bucksport and Norrington.
Senator Rosen. Senator Claxton, my apologies.
I'm trying to come up with $38 for my medication.
Hold on
I'm
a
a
second.
type 2 diabetic.
Representative
Is
Toole.
there any, no, is there
Good morning, I'm Representative Will Toole. I represent the Machias area plus Lubec and Eastport.
All right. And Senator Claxton, are you there? If you could just introduce yourself, that'd be great. He'll be with us in a second.
Hi,
you,
it's
sir.
Ned Claxton. I represent Senate District 20, which is Auburn, Minot, Mechanic Falls, Fulham, and New Gloucester.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for joining us this morning. This meeting is currently being live streamed on the committee's YouTube channel. This means that anyone who is participating in the meeting via Zoom can be seen and also heard if their microphone is unmuted. People on the Zoom meeting waiting to testify cannot be seen or heard until they are called upon to speak. This meeting will be recorded and available to view on the committee's YouTube channel soon after this meeting has concluded. If the name on your Zoom square is not the name you use to register to testify, it may be a bit of a challenge for us to identify you. I'm not sure we have. Oh, Senator Reisman, did I not introduce you?
You missed me.
I'm sorry,
my
sir.
coffee.
Okay.
So let me just make it official here. I'm Representative Walter Reisman. I represent District 69, which is Bridgeton, Harrison, and Denmark. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. This format is new to all of us, and we expect that there will be unforeseen glitches and mistakes. Please be patient. We are doing our best, and we will all learn as we go along and hopefully improve along the way. Let's see. A reminder to members of the community about use of Zoom chat function. This function is not to be used for substantive discussion by anyone. You should know that the chat window can be viewed by any person taking part in this meeting as a participant. Participants include members of the committee, staff, and any member of the public during the time they have been promoted to participant for the purposes of providing testimony to the committee. I believe the heating is clanking around me. All questions of persons testifying will be made through the chair. For each bill being heard today, I will call on sponsors or co-sponsors to speak first. When you're called upon, you'll be promoted from attendee to participant. After presentation by sponsors and co-sponsors, we will call on members of the public based on how they registered to testify for the bill, against the bill, or neither for nor against the bill, but wishing to provide information. After you are done speaking and there are no more questions from the members, we will return you to attendee and call upon the next person registered to testify. Excuse me. It would be greatly appreciated if when you are done offering testimony to this committee on the bill scheduled for today, that you exit the Zoom meeting. Let's see. We only have one bill before us today. We have nobody signed up to speak for or against. So I guess we'll get started with LD 1832. excuse me, I have that right here. Did I? 1832 is Senator Baldacci's bill, but he's unable to be with us today. So if Representative Bryant could present the bill to us, we'll move forward with working on this issue.
Thank you. I am Mark Ryan from Wyndham. I'm presenting this on behalf of Senator Baldacci. It is, as Madam Chair said, it's LD 1832, an act to correct the year of the expiration of terms of the 2 county commissioners of Saginaw County. And basically, that is exactly what it's trying to do. It's correcting the expiration terms of the commissioners of Saginaw County. In districts 2 and 3, we had the reapportionment. There was an error in transposing the term dates of the 2, and this bill will correct that.
Thank you very much. I believe there is no one else set to testify. Does anybody have questions about the bill? We'll try to answer them as succinctly as we can. Representative Greenwood, thank you for joining us. We're just getting started on LD 1832. Representative Toole.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I realize we're not in work session at this point in time, but for the work session, reading through it, the bill does change this year. There's an election going on this year. There are already folks who may be out circulating petitions. I guess I would like to know for the work session what the implications of that are. Would the petitions have to be thrown out? I guess I'd like to hear from the Secretary of State on that whole issue during the work session, because we really need to know if we change the dates, what would happen with petitions, what would happen with candidates, what would happen with ballot access. I realize it's a mistake, but we should know what the implications of changing it are.
Okay.
And maybe suggestions as to how to fix it so that everybody's treated equally going forward.
Okay. Thank you. Excuse me. Are there any further questions? There being none, I'm based on Representative Toole's questions. I'm assuming that we would be unable really to move into a work session without hearing from the Secretary of State and how this change might affect people that are already taking out papers to run for the county commissioner in Saginaw. So I will declare this public hearing closed. Anybody opposed to that? Okay, thank you very much. I was just about to draw up the next item on our agenda is the Discontinued Roads Commission. I'm sorry, Representative Reisman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Somebody mentioned that Representative Greenwood had joined us,
Yes.
but I don't see him on my screen. Does he
Okay.
need to be elevated to a panelist?
No, he's on the screen, but he has Representative Toole's name at the bottom. So he's one of he's Representative
Okay.
Toole. Representative Greenwood, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, good morning. Sorry, I'm having technical issues this morning. My name is Randall Greenwood. I represent House District 82, which are the towns of Litchfield, Monmouth, and my hometown of Wales in both Androscoggin and Kennebec County.
Thank you for joining us, sir. And now he has the correct name down there, so we're all set. Next up on our agenda is the Discontinued Road Subcommittee. Is that correct, Lynn?
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Okay. And we had generally agreed to create a commission. We spoke with folks from 2 agencies that we hope would be able to offer a home for this commission. And we got a letter Friday that respectfully declines. So Lynn, would you like to walk us through this, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So as you'll recall, in the first session, you worked LD 1513, Representative Newman was the sponsor. That bill in its original form would require municipalities to provide maintenance on discontinued roads if there were residents on the road. And in response to that, the committee voted to create a subcommittee. The subcommittee consisted of Representative Matlack, Senator Rosen, Representative Toole, Representative Downs, and Representative Copeland. And the subcommittee was permitted to meet, authorized by the presiding officers to meet 3 times. The first 2 meetings were spent with long discussions with several interested parties, including Tom Doak from Maine Woodland Associate Owners, Roberta Manter from Maine Woodland, Maine Roadways, Rebecca Graham from MMA, and the Department of Transportation was also represented, as was Maine 911 was represented at the second meeting. The first 2 meetings, the subcommittee did a lot of work and recognized what every committee and subcommittee has recognized about roads is that it's very complicated. So the subcommittee requested that the interested parties work offline to see if they could come up with a proposal as a group. And I facilitated those meetings, and there were 2 meetings which the interested parties worked together to try and come up with a solution that they could all agree to. In the report back, I identify what I asked each of them to tell me what their #1 priority to solve was. And they shared those. And then in the second meeting, there was an effort made to try and reach consensus. The consensus was difficult to reach except in one area. All the parties agree that this in part is a financial issue. Who is paying for this maintenance? Is it the municipality? Is it the state? Is it the property owners? There are side issues such as the rights and the extent of the easement. There are side issues about how very fact specific many of these complaints are and how it's difficult to resolve when each fact is unique. And the interested parties' proposals were also attached to the report back that you have, and it's spelled out in more depth. I won't go into that unless you have specific questions. What happened at the third meeting was that the interested parties and I reported back that there was a recognition that funds to assist in the maintenance of discontinued roads where there was a public easement use that was causing damage, that was recognized as a need, but the details on how to solve that problem had evaded the interested parties. So the subcommittee again had a lengthy discussion on the complexity of this, on how these issues, it's not just one issue, issues related to discontinued and abandoned roads come up every session, and they're very difficult to solve, but the committee has worked very hard in solving as much as they can. And the subcommittee reconsidered a prior suggestion, which was to create a commission that would live on to be a avenue for deeper consideration and resolution of this issue. So the subcommittee requested a permission to meet a 4th time from the presiding officers, and then again a 5th time from this committee. So there were a total of 5 meetings where a draft was created that would set up this commission, and that was attached. The draft commission bill was attached to the materials I sent to you. At the last meeting, we had representatives from Department of Agriculture, Conservation and Forestry and Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, because both of them have some jurisdiction over some of the issues that stem from public use of easements and some of the damage that occurs. And as Representative Matlack said, those two departments went back, and the representatives went back and discussed and shared with their commissioners the subcommittee's interest to have one or more of either one or both of those departments be the home, as it were, for this permanent commission. I think the committee was hopeful that one or both of those departments would be willing to house the commission. As Representative Matlack said, the committee received a letter from the jointly from the commissioners on Friday or Saturday that said they did not think that they were closely connected to the issue. They identified this as a local issue, and they recommended that an association representing municipalities be charged with creating and analyzing this issue. So what you have before you, so that's kind of a summary of the subcommittee's work. Their recommendation that they submitted before they heard from the two commissioners, their recommendation was to report out a bill setting up a permanent commission, and then having that bill come back. You would report out a bill and hold a second public hearing. That was the recommendation of the subcommittee on the idea of creating a permanent commission called the Maine Abandoned and Discontinued Roads Commission. Would you like me, Representative Matlack, to go into details on what the proposed commission would look like? I'm sorry, you're on mute.
You're right. Yes, please.
Okay. So the proposed Abandoned and Discontinued Roads Commission would be what is known as an advisory commission, similar to other commissions that this committee has created. It had originally had 11 members. It has now, as proposed, has 12. So that's something that would need to be tweaked. Both three departments would be represented: Department of Transportation, Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, Agriculture, Conservation and Forestry. The Office of the Attorney General would also be represented. And then there would be 8 additional members, appointed members. You would have
you're on mute now, sweetheart. Excuse me.
Sorry, my cat wants to watch and participate.
Yes.
A member from a municipal association, a member from a county commissioner association, a member representing Maine woodland owners, a member representing real estate attorneys, a member of the public who owns property abutting an abandoned road, a member of the public who is not directly affected by abandoned discontinued roads issues, a member representing a land trust organization, and a member representing all-terrain or snowmobile clubs. So 12 members in all, because at the time the subcommittee drafted this, the decision hadn't been made. We hadn't heard back from the 2 departments. So both of them are there. The duties of the commission would be to prioritize the issues that stem from discontinued abandoned roads that negatively affect the various people and interests affected, be it property owners, municipalities, recreational users, the physical integrity of the road, members of the public, county and state governments. And among those prioritized issues, liability of the property owner, the use and scope of use of the public easement, the terminology and statutes and whether or not that is a cause for some of the problem, and reviewing the process for statutory abandonment and discontinuation were the top 4 priority issues that this commission, in prioritizing, those were 4 that they would be asked to consider first. After they prioritize, they would then develop recommendations for statutory changes. Nothing in this prevents them from creating recommendations that may be shared with the variety of interested parties, but the commission's focus is on statutory changes. They would also review any legislation that came before the legislature in the future on abandoned and discontinued roads and provide feedback to the committee of jurisdiction. So prioritize, develop legislation, review legislation, and recommend changes. There were other details such as who is the chair, the term of office would be 3 years. They had to meet at least 3, but no more than 6 times. Remote access was allowed. They are required to report back to the 3 committees of jurisdiction, which would be state and local, agriculture, conservation, forestry, and inland fisheries and wildlife every other year. So there would be a biannual report to those 3 committees, and each of the committees would have the authority to report out a bill if there was recommendations that fell within that committee's jurisdiction. And support staff, that was the question to the 2 departments. Would they be willing to be the lead department and provide staffing, because these commissions usually need staffing. And there were some other minor details such as staggering terms and bylaws, but primarily it was a broad-based commission that would exist to look at the issues and try and suggest legislation on the varied and complex matters that stem from discontinued and abandoned roads.
Thank you. Does anybody have a question or comment with regard to the report? First of all, let me ask those members of the committee that have joined us to identify themselves. Representative Head, could you join us, please?
First of all, I apologize for being late. I was out with my dog and it took me longer than usual, but my name is Frances Head. I represent District 117, 23 towns and townships in Oxford and Franklin County.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you.
And Representative Paulus.
Yes, thank you. My apologies as well for being late this morning. Representative Paulus, I represent House District 52, which is all of the city of Bath.
Welcome, Representative Paulus. Now, Representative Toole, you have a question or a comment with regard to this?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I respect where the departments are coming from. I agree with it to some degree, but I'm very disappointed that they're not recognizing the statewide importance of these issues and the complexity of them in staffing. I think we've put a lot of work into this. As a subcommittee, we came to a great solution amongst ourselves, and we promised the stakeholders that we were going to have at least try to have a public hearing and go from there. And I think we should do that. I don't know what the solution is, but I don't want to give up on this commission because, myself, I'm going to be leaving the legislature this year. Representative Head's leaving, we've got several members leaving, as well as Senator Rosen. There's going to be a lot of turnover, a lot of new people. Everybody's going to be starting from scratch on this issue. And the argument for having a commission is that we have people that can inform public policy so that we do make some headway on some of these types of issues. And I think if we don't do it this year, it may never happen. So I would like to see us try to figure a way forward. But first of all, I'd like to see a public hearing and have the departments come in and as well. I think a letter is nice, but I think they need to come before us and lay out their concerns and try to help us come up with a solution.
Thank you, sir. Senator Claxton. Senator Claxton, your hand is up.
Yeah, he's just trying to figure out how to talk on his phone.
Thank you.
So I want to echo what Representative Toole has just offered. This is a much more complex conversation than can be accomplished with an interim work group. To my recollection, we've done that 4 different times and nibbled at the range of issues that have come up. So I want to advocate strongly for a standing commission to make some progress. The other thought I had was maybe the Attorney General might have a role to play in this, because so many of these issues are have legal implications. And then the final point was that the issue of how many people are on the committee, whether it's 12 or an odd number, can be fixed by adding the phrase "notwithstanding." And HHS has had lots of experience with notwithstanding the tendency to get to odd numbers. This is a consensus effort, and I don't think it's really important to avoid ties with an odd number. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Claxton. And I too agree with both Senator Claxton and Representative Toole. I believe that what the 2 commissioners were suggesting is the status quo. And I believe that this is a move forward that recognizes that there is a serious issue, that we haven't yet found a way around this, and it's complicated and goes back a long time, so that we need a commission in order to untangle all the various threads here, and come up with solutions to issues that come before select boards or county commissioners. And I believe that moving forward, that there should be this commission, and we need to work out what it looks like, who is going to be helping with it, and what agencies should be more forcefully involved than others. Also, Representative Copeland has joined us. Thank you. I understand you were in presenting a bill, so thank you. Representative Copeland, could you identify yourself?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Lynn Copeland. I represent the folks in House District 14, which is coastal and downtown Saco, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Good morning. Senator Claxton, you have your hand up again.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just for the record, it felt to me like I was participant in all 3 of those or all of those meetings, and I didn't hear our analyst mention my name. So I want to get credit for serving on yet the 2nd of these interim commissions. Thank you.
Yes, you do get a star for attendance. Thank you. Representative Toole.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I also know the subcommittee received an email from Miss Roberta Manter with some tweaks as well. I want to acknowledge that. I don't necessarily have a problem with her tweaks. They seem to be fairly minor in nature, but I would encourage her and others to present them at the public hearing when we have it. So I do want to be clear that I did receive it and think it's a modest tweak that we can bring forward then. So, and with that, I don't know what we need to do. Maybe Lynn can tell us that if a motion is in order to request a public hearing on this amendment, given that there's been such a change, I would make that.
Thank you, Representative Toole. I do think that if the committee would hold a vote on whether you want a request to go to the presiding officers for permission to hold a second public hearing, the basis would be that the subcommittee has proposed a bill that is significantly different than the original. So I think a motion, a vote, and then I can submit that request on behalf of the committee and schedule the public hearing, provided the presiding officers approve. If they disapprove, there is a plan B, but I think at this point it's a vote to request a second public hearing.
Thank you. Representative Toole, did you make that motion?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Senator. So we have a a motion and a second to request that the presiding officers allow this committee to hold a second public hearing on this bill due to the large amount of changes that we've made to it and going forward. Yes, Senator Claxton?
Just as a point of order, would it be within the committee's purview to move this bill forward for discussion in the chambers and vote on the contents of the bill as we've turn this into a bill and vote on it as we've constituted the commission currently? That would have to follow the public hearing. Am I correct?
Lynn?
I'm not exactly sure your question, Senator Claxton. I believe if the committee wanted to vote this bill out as it's drafted now to go straight to the floor, you can do that. But I don't think that's what you were saying. You were saying hold the second public hearing and then vote it right from there.
Well, it was what I was saying, but as I was saying it, I realized it wasn't a very good idea.
Okay.
So I'm in favor of the second public hearing.
Okay, thank you. So the vote is to request that the presiding officers allow this committee to hold a second public hearing to discuss the proposed commission. So Cheryl, if you could call the roll, please.
Yes, and just a reminder to Senator Claxton, I have to see his lovely face before I can accept his vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There we are.
Senator Joseph Baldacci, absent. Senator Kimberly Rosen.
Yes.
Senator Kimberly Rosen, yes. Senator Ned Claxton. You're muted, sir.
You're muted.
I got the picture going. Yes.
Senator Ned Claxton, yes. Representative Ann Matlack.
Yes.
Representative Ann Matlack, yes. Representative William Toole.
Yes.
Representative William Toole, yes. Representative Mark Bryant.
Yes.
Representative Mark Bryant, yes. Representative Randall Greenwood.
Yes.
Representative Randall Greenwood, yes. Representative Sean Paulus.
Yes.
Representative Sean Paulus, yes. Representative Francis Head. You're muted, ma'am. Here, I'll help you. Let's see. See it?
Does pushing the space bar help? Hold it down. Hold your space bar down.
There it is. She's got it. Oh, no, now she doesn't. Oh,
Say it
now
again.
she does.
Say again.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Francis Head, yes. Representative Donna Dorr, absent. Representative Walter Reisman.
You're on mute. You're on mute, Representative Reisman.
There you go.
Yes.
Thank you.
Representative Walter Reisman, yes. Representative Kathy Downs.
Yes.
Representative Kathy Downs, yes. Representative Lynn Copeland.
Yes.
Representative Lynn Copeland, yes. 11 yes, 2 absent.
Thank you very much. And we'll await the response of the presiding officers on this measure. Now we have to discuss the two reports that we had a presentation on last week. Excuse me. It is the State Claims Commission and the Civil Service Appeals Board. Lynn, would you like to bring us up to date on that?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So as you'll recall, you heard back from both the State Claims Commission, Richard Estabrook, and from the Civil Service Appeals Board, you heard from Attorney Bowen. I believe I have his name right. And you had some follow-up questions. So today's meeting is twofold. One is for you to decide whether or not the GEA report and the operation of these two entities complies with the authority, the authority that they operate within. And then you also have an option of how you want to respond to the two separate issues. So I think I'm going to start, if you don't mind, Madam Chair, with the State Claims Commission.
Okay.
I sent, and I see Richard Estabrook. I don't know if you will have questions for him, but what Mr. Estabrook commented on was that the compensation for the members of the State Claims Commission could use an increase. Yes. And you all asked me to provide information on what other similarly situated commissions receive as compensation. So I'm going to try and share my screen so that you can see what I provided to you. Let me make that larger. Can you all see this chart?
Yes.
Okay, so I can't put them all on the screen at once, but it's the second column, rate of compensation. So the researcher in my office looked at the different boards and commissions that are similar to the State Claims Commission. And you'll see the State Claims Commission is down here. Oh, that's the Civil Service Appeals Board. So the State Claims Commission gets $150 a day. That is the compensation. That is more than you have 50, you have 75, you have 300 for 4 hours, you have 75. So you have a range of pay. The State Claims Commission is a little bit on the high side in that it's only the panel of mediators that gets more, or the State Board of Arbitration and Conciliation gets more in certain situations. So if you were interested in increasing the compensation for the State Claims Commission, there's a few ways you can do it. You can include in your GEA report back a comment to the legislature that you think that this should be raised, the compensation, and you could suggest how much it should be increased. You could wait until if there was a supplemental budget, because this commission is within your purview. If there was a supplemental budget this session, when you report back to AFA, you could include a recommendation that the Claims Commission get a pay increase, or you could ask for a separate bill to be reported out, and then you'd bring it back for a public hearing to increase the pay.
Thank you. Does anybody have any comment with regard to this report? It's Representative Toole.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess my question, if Mr. Easterbrook is here, I guess my question is, the compensation covers meals, lodging, travel. Is that correct? If that's correct, and to what extent does, I believe there's remote participation, or there was, or am I confused with something else? I guess I would like to ask that, yes.
All right, can we bring Mr. Estabrook over, please?
On his way.
Thank you.
Hello, Representative Matlack, can just make sure you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Interesting discussion. And Representative Toole asked if the lodging and mileage is provided, and the answer is yes, it is. Lodging is relatively rare. but it does happen, especially on trips up to the county, Aroostook County, and occasionally other times too. And mileage is paid at 44 cents a mile, which is the usual state the usual state compensation rate. I noticed in the comparison, this is just something that I would suggest, if you don't mind. I noticed in the comparison that there's a 4-hour comp up to 4 hours, and then it increases after that. And that's what I would recommend for the State Claims Commission, actually, that it be $150 up to 4 hours. And then if you're in if there are times when we have multiple hearings per day, and that can, sometimes a hearing will go 7 or 8 hours just in and of itself, but that's rare. The usual hearing is about 3 hours long, and probably the maximum number of hearings that we can do in a day is 3. We might be able to do 4 depending, but I would really recommend that there be some kind of break like that, 4 hours, and then like $300 over 4 hours, like these other couple of committees that do hearings like that. Just a suggestion. I hope you'll consider it.
Thank you, sir. Representative Copeland, you had your hand up. I think you're all set to go.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with Mr. Estabrook. I was looking at this, and you consider that people are coming together and getting whatever a day, but if they're there for such a long time, I think that should be compensated. And particularly if you look at the State Claims Commission year compensation last changed, that was in 1995. So I think that, even though that's higher than some of the others, I still think it's outdated, and we need to bring that up. But bring the 4-hour meeting, I think anything over the 4-hour meeting, or say 150 per day up to 4 hours. And then after that, go into, maybe another 150, maybe not another 300, but, something
A total of 300. Yeah.
So.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Are there any other comments or questions with regard to this? Representative Toole.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do disagree slightly. I think it is in the middle of the pack. I know I'm not questioning the work that they do or anything like that, but I think if we was to create a special setup there and increase it to 300 total for the day after 4 hours, what about all these other commissions? I mean, we could easily, we could have we've got a bunch of one-offs as it is, and we're just compounding that by creating a special arrangement here with the after so many hours. I don't see that we really should be. I don't think that we should be increasing it, especially since it's middle of the pack. I mean, it'd be one thing if it was on the low end, but it's middle of the pack. And I mean, if the commission wants to make a request as part of a supplemental budget, we do it that way, we can have a discussion then, public hearing, whatever, but I just don't think this should be done as part of the report unless we're gonna go through all of them and really go through all of these different commissions, especially with the COVID era where people are doing stuff remotely.
Even remotely, an 8-hour day seems like it should be worth $300. Senator Claxton, you're up next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The other thing we could do is we could send a letter to the administration suggesting that they standardize how these boards and commissions are compensated. HHS has way too much experience with picking winners and losers unsuccessfully. and aggravating problem. So I would lobby for a letter stand with the challenge to standardize compensation for boards and commissions.
That sounds like a very good idea.
Thank you.
Representative Copeland.
Well, I certainly do think that is a great idea, but the specific thing that started this was that they're having trouble with recruitment. So we can't lose sight of that. Also, I know that we can start all these processes, we can put it in the next budget, but this thing, we don't want it to tank. So we need to do something sooner rather than later. So maybe just a Band-Aid until that further review is done. Maybe we can just, bump it up in the interim.
That was my thought also, Representative Copeland, was that we combine a letter to the administration requesting that they please have a look at the compensation for all these board members. It's complicated now. It is, we're asking seasoned professionals to donate their time, as it were. And while that may have been something that one did at one time, I think nowadays you need to be able to encourage people by giving them a stipend that's worthy of their talents and expertise and their time. So I would support the additional after 4 hours it raises to $300 a day, in addition to sending a letter to the administration. Senator Claxton.
I'm sorry, my hand just went down.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Estabrook, you had a comment?
Yes, thank you very much, Representative Matlack. Just a reminder that particularly with there's been we raised this issue a couple weeks ago, but about doing virtual hearings. But with the State Claims Commission, state law requires the commissioners to go out and view the property visually, and so that really makes it hard to do a virtual hearing. So that's one of the reasons that we rejected basically the commission, I'm speaking for them, rejected the idea of doing virtual hearings. Anyway, that view is extremely important to the understanding of the issues, and the people actually there's no other way to do it except to actually be there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for reiterating that. I do recall that this is one of those commissions where they can't all make a determination from their home office, that you need to be on site to review the property, and it does require time and effort on the part of those participating. Any further comments from folks on the committee? Representative Toole?
I do like Senator Claxton's idea of doing a standardized letter, because I think we could, as he suggests, all of these different commissions are getting different reimbursement rates, and it isn't going to take too long before we're all, what about us? Why are they getting that? Why shouldn't we get it too? And if we don't do this thoughtfully, I could go with a letter. I certainly support that, but I just don't think we should be starting down the process of doing even more one-offs, because I think that's part of the problem as it is, especially since this one's in the middle of the pack.
Perhaps a note in our report stating that we believe that the compensation for this commission should be increased to $300 after 4 hours. And that we await the administration's review of the compensation for all commissions to make it equitable. That would be our recommendation, without putting it into any budgets, and allow the commission in their request to the legislature for funding ask for an increase, rather than us asking for it.
Yeah, I don't see where that would be a problem. I would want to see what others think, but I just don't think that we should be doing these one-offs. So,
Okay. Okay.
I mean, as long as, if we're requesting the administration look at it, look at all of these different commissions, that would be a broader bill anyway for, for not just our committee, but for a lot, there's hundreds, if not more, commissions, and they are useful, but we do want to be careful where I think it's going to take a full audit of what we have for commissions and see what the range is. So, I know that's a bigger issue than just this one in particular, but
right.
So, I like Senator Claxton's idea. I think it strikes a good balance.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments on this as we moving forward? Lynn, you had mentioned making a recommendation within our report or making a recommendation by a letter to the Appropriations Committee with regard to increasing their compensation. Would just including within the report that we received that that the compensation for all, in addition to a letter to the administration, as Senator Claxton has suggested, could we include a recommendation that the stipend be increased due to the physical presence required of membership on this commission, and that that having the compensation increase after 4 hours to $300 an hour might be worthy of consideration?
So yes, if you're, I think I understand your question. So you're saying a letter to the boards and commissions within the governor's office for a broad look at all of the compensation, plus including in the GEA report a similar comment and also a specific comment about this group, the State Claims Commission, being required to do in-person visiting supports increasing. I believe that's what you were saying. And yes, you can put that.
Yes, that is what I was saying. Yes.
You can do it through, you can put that in the report, and you can also then, if you decide, do it if you get a budget. So
okay, we can discuss it further as a budget. Yes. Representative Copeland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Secretary of State has a Bureau of Corporations, Elections, and Commissions. And according to their homepage on their website, it says the division administers the boards and commissions programs established under Title V, Chapter 379, and lays out standards for creation, membership, and compensation. And it also says that not all boards are on file with the office. Commissions created by the legislature for specific purposes are not. So just want to point that out for information.
Okay,
Maybe
thank you.
We should probably coordinate those.
Make recommendations to both the Secretary of State and the governor?
Right, that it should be all coordinated. So if it's something that the legislature puts forth and something that the Secretary of State does, that all of them are addressed.
Okay.
And it looks like the statute calls for the Secretary of State boards and commissions to set those standards for those boards and commissions.
Thank you. That's a good idea, so that both sides have an understanding of what's going on. Representative Reisman? You're on mute, sir.
Okay. Nice comment from Representative Copeland. I was wondering if Lynn has a response or an opinion on what you just said.
thank you, Representative Reisman. For the legislatively created boards and commissions, which the compensation is actually set out in the statute by the legislature. I'm wondering if I don't know exactly the answer to what Representative Copeland read. I'm wondering if that statement that the Secretary of State establishes the compensation applies to a different type of board and commission. So I'm not entirely sure.
Okay. Thank you. But we do want to send a letter to the administration because it is her administration that oversees many of the commissions that we will be dealing with here in the state and local government. Okay, thank you. So yes, Representative Toole.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I think really we're looking at two different things as far as the GEA report on, is the commission performing their duties, and do we have any concerns or issues with the way they're performing them? That's one thing. And I think we generally accept the fact, and if I'm speaking out of turn, I apologize. I think we generally accept the fact that they do. I think we could vote that and then do this, then we could vote to send this letter to the administration to review all of these different commissions and make recommendations or something along those lines, not just in the context of this one, but all of them. And certainly as they prepare a supplemental budget or whatever the case may be, if it takes longer, then that's another issue. But I don't think, I think they're two separate things. And the GEA report is more or less, are they functioning? And I believe we believe they are. So I would support just a straight up passing of that and then doing the letter separately.
In some respects, I do want the letter, but I also want to make it clear in the recommendations that compensation is something that may affect the committee going forward. Don't we have people who are, we need to have more people appointed to the commission? They haven't had, there are people who are termed off, they're still there, which is lovely. But is it the concern that the compensation is not enough to warrant other people joining these commissions? So I'm concerned about that.
I understand that, and I certainly think that is a concern, but is that the issue, or are there other reasons? And I know when we get to the next commission, there was some concerns about lack of appointees, and we were going to hear from the administration. So, or we were hopefully going to hear from the administration to get their perspective on it, whether some are even necessary at this point. Not saying this one isn't, but I just think there's a broader, and the broader issue is one thing, and certainly putting a line, putting a line forward that compensation could be a barrier in future, regardless of whatever commission we're looking at. But I don't know, is cherry picking this one out is the way to go.
Thank you. So does Lynn, do we need a motion on how we are going to word our report back, or how will we do this?
So this is a bit informal.
Okay.
I do think you need to vote. I think so. I think a motion, though not necessarily required, would clarify everything.
Okay.
On both the GEA report, I do agree with Representative Toole. There's what do you want the GEA letter to say? And then this, I think it's a separate issue. Do you want a letter to the administration? Do you want it to the administration and the Secretary of State? So I would suggest going one and then the second.
Okay, so the report itself. So the report, except for the fact that there was concern raised about the level of compensation that they raised themselves. So we'll just say that that they, see, who are we? We are the the State Claims Commission that we believe that they are fulfilling their requirements, and that we recognize that one of the issues is compensation, and we were asking the administration to look into reviewing compensation for all boards and commission under her purview. Would that be acceptable? Thank you. Was that clear, Linton?
That was clear. And
Okay.
as long as, does anyone object?
To that language?
I don't see any objections.
Okay, thank you. And then on a second matter, we would like a letter from the State and Local Government Committee to the administration, suggesting that they review compensation for all boards and commissions with an eye to bringing it into bringing them the compensation up to date and equity between the different commissions based on the work that they provide to the state. Is that acceptable to folks? Okay, so that looks okay. Thank you. So that was that commission. We have then we have the Civil Service Appeals Board.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So the Civil Service Appeals Board, you also have, I think, two issues that you raised that are under consideration. One is the Civil Service Appeals Board operating in accordance with its authority? And then you had that report back. And then you had questions. I just want to do an asterisk to let you know that I don't know if any of you noticed that the compensation for the Civil Service Appeals Board is $50 an hour. Excuse me, $50 a day. So they are on the low end. With respect to the Civil Service Appeals Board, you did hear comments about the fact that this statute was created in 1988, and I did confirm it has not been updated since then. This statute provides an avenue for those state employees not covered by a union contract. Sometimes a lot of them are the confidential employees, the employees who are in management positions. So the statute was created in 1985 and has not been updated. You asked for comments from the governor's office, the boards and commissions, because there was information shared that, as with the State Claims Commission, there are members that have served beyond their terms, and the majority, if not all of them, are in expired terms. I did reach out to Melissa O'Neill Lowe, who is the director in the governor's office, boards and commissions. She and asked her to attend. She noted that they have 19 confirmation hearings today in other areas of the legislature. So she declined to be present. And she also had been out of the office due to illness for a while. So, but you also asked me, and I worked with Anya Trundy, and I believe she is in the waiting area. You had questions that you wanted to hear back from the administration, from Human Resources, on whether and how this statute could be updated in response to some of the concerns raised. I will summarize, and I'm sure Anya can provide more information. The conversation I had with Anya went along something like this. In the State Civil Service Appeals Board, the department is actually the defendant. Though Anya is here to provide feedback from Human Resources, I think there was a reluctance for the defendant in these appeals board hearings to be commenting or having a leadership role in updating or revising. I did try and think of who is that entity that could provide feedback. from the perspective of the petitioner in these cases, which are state employees not covered by a union. I struggle with that because there are state employees not covered by a union, so they don't have a natural representative. So I'm not, and Anya has been added into the room, so perhaps she can provide some more feedback for you.
Thank you, Lynn. Welcome to State and Local Government, Ms. Trundy. Could you enlighten us a little bit about the concerns that are going on?
I don't know as I can enlighten you about the concerns, but as Lynn has said, the Bureau of Human Resources is the defendant before the board. They did, though. I did have a conversation with the Bureau of Human Resources about the history of cases and whether they, and really around the volume of cases. And I also, or lack thereof, yes. And I went back through the last decade of annual reports that had been filed by the board. And I think, you know, what I saw in looking at those in those reports is that there have been very few appeals before the board. From what I could see, there were 2 in 2017 and 1 in 2018. There were a couple of years early on in the last decade, 2012 and 2014, which I couldn't find a report for. I don't know if that indicates that there was no activity that year or not. But in many years, the board only met once or twice. And you know, there's also a section of the report that where the clerk reports how many hours they spent working on matters for the board for the year. And in most years, it's between 8 and 40. And it doesn't exceed that amount of time in any of the years in the last decade. So I would say that it is true that the board has not been utilized significantly, but I don't know if that necessarily means that it doesn't have a purpose. I think it gets called into action infrequently. And the Bureau of Human Resources did note that at least in the last 3 or 4 years, they've even been experiencing on the side of employees covered under the bargaining units that there's been a decrease in grievances and arbitration. Those numbers have gone down by about 30% in that time. So that might also explain, you know, if those are on similar tracks, why there hasn't been any activity in front of the board related to confidential employees in that period of time as well.
Thank you. And we had requested information about improving this in this commission and its in what it does. Lynn, is that what you mentioned?
That's correct. And as I said, I believe the Bureau's position as a defendant created some hesitancy
right,
in regards to providing feedback on improvements. Okay. And I just want to remind the committee, I'm sure you all remember this, the employees not covered by the bargaining unit, there are other avenues, legal avenues for them. This is not the only legal avenue. If they are having a dispute with the state of Maine as an employer, there's straight to court, there's Maine Human Rights Commission, there's other avenues in addition to this appeals board.
Thank you. Representative Toole, you have your hand up. You're on mute, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank Lynn for that last bit of information as well, because from what I found, there are other avenues, and I wonder if we need this commission that's only doing 8 to 40 hours of work a year, that only has a couple of cases here and there. I wonder if it's really outlived its usefulness, as opposed to trying to redefine it or narrow it up. If before we even want to get down that road, should we consider that it's not necessary anymore? And I realize Anya can't answer that, but I mean, I do have to question, if it's not being used that much and it's not being accessed that much, whether we really do need to have it needed.
Right. I also believe that Ms. Trundry made the comment that she wasn't sure that it needed to be discontinued, that it does serve a purpose, whether it's used infrequently or not. It does actually serve a purpose for those employees that are not members of a bargaining unit. Any further questions? Well, Representative Toole, how would you determine what, because this commission is used infrequently, but it is used, how would you determine whether or not it should be eliminated? For example, we have suggested eliminating commissions that haven't met for years.
Right.
So how would we determine whether or not this was a commission that needed to continue or not?
Well, I would say that we put a bill forward, and if there's a demand for it to continue meeting, then folks would have a chance to weigh in at a public hearing. If they really see this as a valuable resource for the state of Maine, that they would show up and support it, and we go from there. I mean, I give the people affected by this an opportunity to weigh in one way or the other. And I'm not, it would take a bill to dissolve it anyhow. So that's what I would say. And I think before we try to tinker with the scope of it, we first need to determine whether we need it. And I don't know what other folks think, but I am curious that there's only been a handful of cases in the last decade, and that membership has lapsed to the point where both administrations haven't appointed folks for whatever reason. I mean, it would be great to hear from Miss Owens at some point, and I realize why she can't be here today, but I don't see where there'd be a harm in having a public hearing on whether we need this or not.
Thank you. Ms. Trundy.
I just thought that it might be helpful to, if the committee understood the circumstances in which employees' issues may come before this board. And so there are kind of four different instances. The first is layoffs. The second is reclasses. The third is discipline, and the fourth is termination. And so I could certainly see where discipline and termination may have other outlets that they would go to, but layoffs and reclasses are more administrative type issues, where those wouldn't necessarily have an outlet with, like, say, the Human Rights Commission or something like that, and they just don't rise to the same occasion as some of the other things. And so this board may be the appropriate outlet for those types of disputes.
I believe having a conversation with Melissa would be a good idea, in as much as there are a lot of commissions, as we have noted here this morning, where folks are being held over, not being, there's no replacement in the pipeline for them. We would like to know what the administration plans for keeping these various commissions up and running. If the administration is in favor of keeping this commission going, then it needs to have an appropriate group of people serving on the commission. And right now it's down to a very, very few people. I know it doesn't meet very often, but if it's called upon to meet, would it be able to? So we need to have people willing to participate in these commissions and approved if necessary. Representative Copeland? Oh, are you on mute? Because you've just removed your picture. Representative Copeland, there you are.
It was a snafu with the electronics. My question is about what cases came through. I mean, were they very helpful to people? I don't imagine that there's a way we could reach out to some of the people that had brought cases. And I'm wondering if there's any information on what issues came forward. You know,
I think Ms. Trundy mentioned the two issues that couldn't be handled elsewhere. Layoffs and the reassignment of yes. So those would be the two areas that this commission would deal with probably more regularly than anything else. But yeah, it meets infrequently.
Also wondering if they employment contracts. Probably not. They're probably at will, right?
I would imagine so, yeah. They are employees of the state rather than contracted to the state. So yes. Lynn?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to share with the committee procedurally, the committee can submit legislation if you wanted to eliminate a board. As far as I can tell, you don't have that authority under Chapter 35, the Government Evaluation Act. You can, with your report back to the legislature, recommend, and you can submit legislation that would accomplish that. But I don't find any authority to report out a bill. I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, Lynn. Representative Paulus?
Yes, thank you. I think, even though it doesn't meet regularly, as been mentioned before, it does serve a purpose. And I would hate to get rid of it and then have it come later that, you know, we need something like this and then have to reinvent the wheel almost. So that's why I would much rather have it in place if we need to tweak it, or ask that, you know, maybe make sure employees are more aware of these avenues, and, you know, so that employees know that they have this avenue besides the others. But I just think it does serve an important service when it is called for. So I wouldn't want to see it discontinued.
Thank you. Representative Toole?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I certainly wouldn't want to see it discontinued if there wasn't a need, but I think either way we go with this, and Ms. Trundy suggested maybe the scope could be narrowed or inferred it could be. I don't want to put her in an untenable position there. But if it's limited to the types of cases that she mentioned, either way, we would need to report out some legislation to change the scope of it. So either way, whether it's eliminated or the scope is narrowed, I think there's a value in having that. And I mean, I'm open to either one at this point. But I certainly do think that there are some things that need to be addressed with it. And I think that's clear, and certainly hearing from Ms. Owens as well. But I think just from what Ms. Trundy has said, at the very least, the scope might need to be, we would want to have a bill and a public hearing on that.
I don't think that Ms. Trundy was recommending that we narrow the scope of this. And I would be more inclined to include within our report back the recommendation that the commission be, that the membership of the commission be expanded to include people that are recently appointed, that the appointments be made in a more timely fashion, and potentially having somebody from that area talk to us about why the commission may or may not need to continue, but to have people who are really involved with this issue talk to us about it. But I think that having appropriate membership is the biggest issue I see with this commission. Representative Copeland?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Paulus has reminded me that I did bring up and that we did talk about getting the word out to people who might need this resource. And I was thinking, you know, in employers in the cafeteria, or whatever, they have the poster with all this information. If it could maybe be a little line on that from the Department of Labor or whatever, that this does exist for those specific people.
It as Lynn showed, it's difficult to find representation of these folks and to know how to reach out to them. So having a bit more outreach might be a good thing to do, and that we could also include that in the our recommendation that further notification exists. Ms. Trundy.
I just wanted to let you guys know that we do include information in the communication to employees when kind of the circumstances arise. So if they were to be laid off or they were to have a reclass, it would be in the letter notifying them about that what the process is for those employees to go through. And the same also exists in the discipline and termination letters that the AG's office helps us prepare. So we could probably do a better job of putting the information out there more generally speaking, but when you do need the information is provided to you at that time.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to send a letter or to issue our report on this report back on this, saying that the commission needs to be fully staffed, as it were, and that perhaps a broader notification of the services or the commission use of the commission should be disseminated to all employees. But otherwise, I think we're about where we need to be. Representative Reisman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question. Is there a existing employee manual that outlines some of the avenues for grievances at this point?
Ms. Trundy, do you know the answer to that one?
I don't confidently know the answer to it. Certainly there is, when you are hired by the state, you receive a large stack of paperwork that includes a lot of information. I think that stack is likely to include some of this information. I think because the majority of our employees are covered under the collective bargaining units, though, the unions do the job of educating those employees about what their process is and what their rights are. And so they receive that information through their collective bargaining units.
Is there such a thing as an online resource for employees to find out about these commissions and so forth?
Oh yeah, there's lots on the Bureau of Human Resources website related to various policies and procedures and rules, so that if somebody was looking for something, they could probably find what they're looking for on the Bureau of Human Resources website.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Representative Reisman?
Yes. Well, yes and no. I just would have hoped that there is a manual that's in one place, one book that has all the types of circumstances that might be of concern to somebody and what their appeal process would be. Sounds to me like that isn't the case.
Pardon me?
That sounds to me like that's not the case.
I don't know that it's not the case. Ms. Trundy?
I would say that place is the Bureau of Human Resources website.
So there is a website that
There
can
is a-
provide the information. I would think that if you were hired, especially if you were hired like 12 years ago, the paper materials that you received then are probably outdated, and that the place you would go for updated material would be on the website, and you could update it if you wanted to. Are there regular mailings or emails, as it were, to employees with regard to updating processes and procedures that are sent out to employees, or they're made aware of where information may be found? Ms. Trundy?
Yes, there are when there are major changes to communicate. In my experience, most frequently the information that is communicated to employees is around their health and benefits. But yes, there is information that is communicated when there are major changes, and it's done through a variety of methods, be it email, mail. So.
Okay, thank you. Representative Bryant?
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I'm extremely hesitant to change this in any way other than emphasizing that we feel that the board should be updated. People put on the board. I don't want to take away any avenue for any person, whether union or not union, to have an avenue that's set up. And I think it's beyond us to try to intervene in that. We're getting down in minutia and something that we have so many big issues to deal with. This one here, anytime we can have a lifeline out there to a human being, we should allow it, especially where we've seen it in 2017 or not so long ago, it has been used. So I think we're getting beyond where we need to be. I certainly encourage, notice to the administration to fill the vacancies and allow that lifeline to exist. That's where I'm at.
Thank you, Representative Bryant. Representative Copeland?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Not to belabor it, but you asked about the website. There is on the HR website, there's a policy and practices manual digitally, and there's like 15 sections, and section 8 is grievance procedures, and it talks about the State Civil Service Appeals Board, and it talks about the grievances and the classification grievance procedure. So that is out there on the website if people take the initiative to go get there. That's just a point of information. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I think Representative Bryant is correct. I agree with him that I don't see a reason to discontinue this board, this commission. First of all, we don't have the power at present to do something like that. So I would just, in our report back, emphasize that this board should be, that the people on the board should either be reappointed, or that people interested in serving on the board should be found, and it should be at full capacity as soon as possible. Is there any concern otherwise with regard to this commission? Representative Toole, are you okay with this? Representative Toole? Is there any, there you are, sir. Representative Toole?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yes, I don't have a problem with sending back a report to that effect. I realize that there are lingering issues, and I don't think we're going to solve them at the moment. So,
okay.
But yeah, I think that's a fair enough thing.
Thank you very much. Are we in agreement that that's what Lynn will polish up the language, but that's what we have agreed to here on the committee? Thank you. Lynn, can you polish up what we've been talking about?
Yes, I can, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there anything further for us to discuss today, Lynn?
There is nothing else on the agenda today.
Thank you so very much. Cheryl, you have your hand up.
Yes, I just would like to know if Representative Greenwood is here at the State House or if he is somewhere else.
I am somewhere else.
All right, thank you. I just need to put that in attendance. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Is there anything further from the committee members? There being none, we'll close this hearing and see you folks in Augusta on Wednesday. All right. Thank you very much. Bye all.
Have a good weekend, everyone.